Without a shadow of a doubt, in my mind, the human element, the recruitment of good quality seafarers to man our ships. Ships are getting increasingly technologically advanced. They're developing. We're going to look at new fuel sources. So we have to focus not only on attracting the right people by making the living environment on board correct for them, but also retaining them. And I believe that one of the secrets of encouraging people to go to sea is the realization that there's a whole lifetime career out there. So without a doubt, safety is dependent on people.
I think the biggest safety challenge facing the industry going forward over the next 6 years or so up to 2020 is going to be its ability to have crew of the requisite quality. Ships depend entirely on their crew. The effectiveness with which they're operated depends upon crew training, crew competence and experience. And we're seeing a lot of difficulty in ship owners finding the requisite crews to meet those challenges. There are huge disincentives for youngsters to go to sea these days, not least that caused by the increased tendency to criminalise seafarers when things go wrong. And when faced with that prospect, it's easy to see why young, intelligent and youngsters of good prospect don't want to expose themselves to that risk. So I think that is going to be the big challenge. Are you going to get the seafarers? And also the issue of ship size, I think, is a big problem. Ships are getting bigger, crew sizes are getting smaller, and crew experience generally is getting less. And when things go wrong, that collective crew experience has a significant bearing on the eventual outcome. In the days when I was at sea, the bridge watchkeeping team had huge amounts of experience. You don't see that these days. And when individuals are put under pressure, then that inexperience can show in the way in which mistakes are made.
Up to 2020, the biggest challenge, of course, is the human element. But because we have thoroughly discussed that during the day, I believe that technological change, which is in way, will affect severely shipping. This is the implementation of EGDIS. We are leaving the traditional navigation with paper charts. There are pros and cons. The pros are that the master will be capable to see his vessel sailing on the charts as well as the other vessels in vicinity. This will give a boost in the decision making and the situational awareness. On the other hand, it is very sad for us, the old-timers, to board ships and see chart rooms without charts. So legislators must be very careful that, because although there is a significant redundancy in EGDIS, we must be careful and must be prepared to face any breakdowns which are usually happening in sea.
Our biggest challenge is to find and retain the right people to run the industry. We need to find people of the right caliber that have the necessary competence in order to run this business.
The challenge is always the same, to be able to operate in a safe environment for the asset, the vessel, the crew, and also the environment. And to this, we believe that effective implementation of the ISM code to take the substandard vessels out of operation, it's always, no matter 2020 or 2050, it's always a challenge. Indeed, we have enough. We learn to effectively implement what we have, but if I may add one or two items, I will say to us it's also important that the IMO mandatory audit scheme for flag states is also bring an important additional safety pin in the puzzle of stakeholders. So this effective implementation of the audit and also adaptation of the findings of its flag port or coastal state is also very important.
Well, it has been already discussed with the panels. I agree that the human element is a big challenge. Maybe we have to revisit the minimum training levels and qualification for the crew. We have to use the existing regulations and enforce them with better qualified people and better training and better monitoring and better follow-up. I think if we compare to the airline industry, I think they are not smarter than we are in the maritime industry. The airline industry has better training, better qualification levels, and I'm sure we can do the same.
The biggest safety challenge now and in the future is the same. Attracting and retaining the best and the brightest seafarers to work our ships as technology becomes more advanced and they need to be more switched on to handling the day-to-day dangers at sea.
The safety challenges are going to be immense. We've come through this decade about environmental issues taking precedence, but by the time we get to 2020 and onwards, the biggest threat for the shipping industry is human resources. Obtaining properly qualified, experienced crews to operate the ships. If we don't have them, we don't have the flood through to within the companies of experienced seafarers operating in the companies. Therefore, it'll be more difficult to operate and meet the ever-increasing demands of legislation that seems to be coming through tier on tier, year after year.
I think there's a long way to go in the effective implementation. I think the consistency among port states is critically important to ensure a level playing field for ship owners.
The biggest safety challenge, I'd say, and we discussed it today, would be the growth in ships, especially these extremely large container vessels. Right now, the biggest one on the sea are the Maersk Triple E's carrying 18,000 containers. We're now discussing container vessels carrying 19,000 containers. And that's a lot to say for us as salvers, as we're expected to take the risk to actually put our salvage master on one of those burning container ships and actually save the ship. I think that's an industry concern on a whole. It's not just us as the salvers that need to be responsible for response capabilities, but the different state authorities, the P&I clubs, the hull and machinery as well, to look together the best way to fix those situations.
I would say up to 2020, it has to be the human element. The training and recruiting of seafarers will be of essence. If we don't have the right people on board the ships, we will not be able to trade.
Well, it's an ongoing challenge and it's a massive challenge. It's been touched on by many people today, and that is manning and finding quality crews. A huge challenge and one which will not go away.